Hi, welcome to Behind the Scenes with Axiom Medical. I'm your host, as always, Jason McElhinney. If this is your first time joining us, this is a behind the scenes look at all the people that work here at Axiom Medical. Over the years, almost 3 years now, I've spoken to a variety of people from up and down the chain of people that work here. And I'm happy to introduce you to one of our newest members, and that is Johnny Bischof. Am I pronouncing that correctly, or is it Bischoff?
It's Bischoff. You nailed it. Hi,
Bischoff,
Jason.
yeah.
How's it going?
I'm going well. It's going well. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to be here. I'm flattered to be here.
Yeah, this is very exciting. Johnny and I were talking just before this happened that we haven't officially met each other, and this is quite an odd way to meet people for the first time. But why don't we just start off? Why don't you introduce yourself to everybody and who you are and what you do here?
Yeah, sure. My name's Johnny, or Jonathon Bischof is my email signature, or the name that I use when I'm in trouble and my mom is yelling at me. It was always Jonathan. But yeah, I like to go by Johnny. I am in the sales department, the new logo sales department here at Axiom. I started with the company in January, so still picking things up and learning about how everything works. Really enjoying my time so far. I've had several sales jobs in my sales career so far, but really enjoying my time at Axiom and love the team, love every part of what we do. I tell a lot of prospects about how one of the main things that drew me to the company was the transparency of the service, but I think that really flows into the culture that I've seen so far too. It's very clear. Everybody's straight shooters, and I really enjoy working with them.
That's great. Yeah, and I'm not trying to tout the Axiom medical culture. I'm not trying to sell anything, but I've worked in a lot of different companies and I've worked in a lot of different industries over the years. Bike courier, a waiter, a museum. I welded. I was training to be a chef. In this culture, in this environment, I seems to be the most mature of the ones that I've been a part of, and everyone is kind of given their own voice and treated like adults. So it's fantastic. So end spiel. So how did you get to Axiom Medical? What were you doing prior to this?
Yeah, so prior I was working for a kind of small software company out of the Northeast that worked with HR departments in the healthcare world, health industry, um, focused on people who give in-home nursing, maybe some of the skilled nursing facilities, nursing homes, and things like that. And the software that we were working with does a lot of HR management for bringing new employees into the fold, getting all their paperwork in order, making sure that they're paid correctly and the right way. So that was kind of my entry point into the health, if you will, health services. I think Axiom kind of fits. That's a broad label, but Axiom fits as far as I can tell. And then before that, I was doing, a couple of other different things. I worked for a company that manufactures really complex lab equipment for quality control and testing. And before that, I worked at a consulting firm that works with colleges and universities to help them. When I was a student in college, I used to work in the basement on campus and call alumni and beg them for money. And so this job that I had at this consulting firm was a data analysis group that effectively helped the colleges badger in a better way with messaging that people were open to hearing. Before that, I worked for a pipe and tube manufacturer who I found out is one of our clients now, Tenaris.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So have you always been interested in sales? Is that something that you always wanted to do?
Well, I don't know. I don't know that anybody really starts out when they're a kid thinking like sales is going to be the place for me. I will say my dad always told me, my dad is in procurement, which kind of sits at the opposite side of the table. And I sat at the opposite side of the table from him at dinner every day for the first 18 years of my life. So he was always like, yeah, you need to be in sales. That's kind of the good place for somebody like you and that kind of thing. And I think really I like the human element a lot. I think there's so much that goes on in subtext of conversations, the aspects of trying to put people in the right places, move the puzzle pieces around. it's always something new, and it's fun, I think.
Well, I'm glad there are people like you for people like us that are in design and marketing that just want to make pretty things and tell people about pretty things, but we don't care to get we just don't have the gumption to get people to sign on the dotted line. So thank you for everything that you do. You say you probably didn't want to be a salesperson when you were a kid, but my brother and I are complete opposites. He's been in sales for, years and years and years. And I think he knew in high school that that's what he wanted to do. And so much so that now both of his sons are kind of going into sales and communication. So it runs in that side of the family, not in my side of the family. I'm the artsy fartsy, let's talk about feelings kind of guy.
Well, you never know. Epigenetics, maybe you have those genes hiding out there that just waiting to be triggered. Something will come along, maybe. Never know.
Oh, I can sell somebody on an idea. I can talk to somebody about things for the longest time and get them involved. I got that rah, rah, rah. But if they need to sign on a dotted line for, an extreme amount of money, that's a pressure that I'm not accustomed to.
Sure. Well, good
So
thing we're so reasonably priced.
right. Yeah. Yeah. If I can tell you, hey, look, these socks are great. I can get them for you for $5. Let's do this. That's no problem. But a car, a Ferrari, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a
So,
little tougher.
so what part of the country are you in right now? Where do you call home?
I live in a city called Friendswood. It's really just an outskirts of Houston. For anybody outside of the state of Texas, or really even outside of the Houston area, I just say Houston because I think that's, more or less the same. I can drive 5 minutes and be in a Houston zip code. And I've been here. This is where I was born and raised. I went away to school at Texas A&M, but other than that, I've been here the whole time.
That's great. And to put it in perspective for people that don't know Texas geography, so Houston, everybody knows Houston. That's the fourth largest city in the United States. We have highways that go around it. So we have the 610 loop, and then we have Beltway 8. And Friendswood is south of Beltway 8 on the pretty much sort of on the way to Galveston. It's on the south side of Houston. So it's a suburb of Houston. It's for all intents and purposes, it's Houston.
Yeah, you see, when you try to describe it, you see it's Houston.
Yeah. And Houston is so big. This whole city is big. I'm from Ontario, and Toronto has roughly the same population as Houston, but Houston is almost like if you pick Toronto up off the ground and then dropped it and it just spread out. And that's what Houston is. You need a car to do everything. It's very hot. If somebody sees you walking down the road in August, they'll pull over and say, "Is everything okay?"
Yeah, well, you can't be out there that long.
No. Well, let's go to some comments. We got a comment from Augustine said, "Here's Johnny."
Heard that one before, Augustine.
Yeah. I'm sure you do. With a name like that. With my last name, I've heard everything. So we'll see. I'm not sure who this is, but they said, "We just love Johnny. Such a great addition to our new logo sales team. Is always a positive, happy guy to work with." I think we're getting a sense of that.
Oh, that's so sweet. I wish I knew who said that. That's so nice.
We'll follow up later. They may have their profile set to private, but I'm sure you'll hear about it as well. And then Augustine says, "Ask him if he is related to Eric Bischof." I don't know who that is. Can you tell me who that is?
Yeah, not a relation of mine, but I have heard that one. That one started. I remember the very first time I heard that name. I was in PE in about fourth grade, and
Wow.
the PE coach. Hey, are you related? No, he was a wrestler. I don't really know. I think he was kind of a bigwig. He kind of ascended the ranks, but I've never been that into wrestling. So
we'll have to follow up with Augustine and see who that is.
Yeah.
We got another one here from Axiom Medical. It looks like new guy alert. I'm so glad you're on the team and for this opportunity to get to know you more.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So tell us a little bit about you. We heard about where you worked before and how you got to the place where you are and how you got to Axiom Medical. What are you excited about? Like what gets you going here? And why do you keep getting up and every day to come to work?
Yeah. So, I mean, these things kind of, I think, change over the course of life. I tell a lot of different people that I used to be cool. I promise. I think it all kind of left me. I've got 2 kids. And so now, like, that's really the main thing that gets me up and going, chasing them around. One of them is having her 5th birthday next week, and the other one is coming up on about 18 months. So they're a handful, but I couldn't say there's anything more motivating and inspiring really than trying to do right by them and do the best for them. And like I said, the perspective of enjoying sales because it's a human nature based endeavor, seeing it from the perspective of a parent, I think has been really fun, and it's challenging, of course, but also to try to frame everything from that perspective of, what's the why here behind this behavior, or how should I handle this? It's really a clinical course in self mastery, I think, to be a parent, but that's my main focus. It's going to kind of calm down a little bit. We just finished softball season for my older one, so we're going to have a little bit more free time for going into the summer.
My heart goes out to all the parents with young kids. I interviewed Seth Wood on our team, and we're routinely getting updates on all the stuff that he has to do with his kids. If it's not baseball, it's cheer, and it's driving from one state to the other, and it just sounds exhausting.
You find a new level, though, I'll say, Jason. It's like I used to think, oh, I'm so tired. I stayed up late studying for an exam in college, or, oh, this week's workload is particularly hard. And then, you kind of, there's no option really once you have people that you got to feed. And so it changes things to where you figure out a way. And I think for me, I feel like it unlocked a new level, and, I really, really enjoy it.
That's great. That's great. I commend you, and my heart goes up to everyone. Oh, the LinkedIn user chimed in. She says it's Angie. Not sure why my name is not showing up. That was me on the first comment, but we all love Johnny.
Oh, love y'all too.
Well, thank you, Angie. I interviewed her earlier this year. If you're interested, you can go back and watch that. So you talked about your kids and all of the stuff that you do with them, and the reason why you get up. But what do you do outside of that? Where do you find yourself if you don't have to take care of the kids? If you find some magical Johnny time where you can do things, what are you up to?
I would say I like to read. I like to watch TV. I like to work out. That's kind of the mix of things that I'll be doing from about 8 p.m. until I go to bed, just because that's, the only time where they're not needing something. So it's really, I've been reading the Screw Tape Letters. I don't know if my camera's reversed. C.S. Lewis, pretty good book, but I'm not, like I said, I used to be cool, man. I used to have all kinds of activities, and it's all focused on one, or I guess two now, but all focused there.
Nice. I need to check out that book. I'm currently reading, and I'm almost embarrassed to say that I've never read it. I've read other Steinbeck books, but I'm reading the Grapes of Wrath now, and it
Oh,
just
yeah.
reminds me of how poetic and brutal and beautiful of a writer he was. And it's just, yeah, it's a great book. So I'm excited to continue to read that. So
I should pick that one back up. We did that one in high school, but I should pick it back up. It's been a while.
yeah, I'm embarrassed to say I didn't read it. Being Canadian, we had a different curriculum. So some books we didn't read, and some books we did read, and some of the books were mostly Canadian. So Farley Mowat, who is a Canadian writer, we read him in high school, which I don't know if many Americans know who he is. He's a giant in Canada. So do you play any sports? I know you said you worked out. Have you played any sports throughout your life?
Yeah, I back through high school and college, I was a baseball player. Um, Basketball, kind of the first couple of years of high school, and then just started focusing solely on baseball once I got to about junior year of high school. Um, Baseball, I think, really is another thing that kind of prepared me for sales, because it's so like failure oriented, and the best of the best baseball players are in the Hall of Fame if they're getting out 7 times out of 10. And so I think it instilled a little bit of a resilience in me to understand, like, there's going to be no's along the way, and you just have to deal with it and roll with it and do the best you can, and get back up and work again tomorrow. Do the best you can to get better every day. And I love that. I should have it memorized, but that one thing that's the 365 to the 1 power, or 365 to the 1.01 power, assuming that you're adding 1% every day over the course of 365 days, you add, I think, like 36x to your original. So it's just a matter of keeping on with improvements every day. And I think, there's a lot of life lessons too. I was watching Chad's interview where he was talking a little bit about baseball and how there's so many opportunities for you to learn how to overcome and how to find success even whenever things get tough.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's wow. That's a great way to look at things. Stop being so darn positive. Jeez, make the rest of us look
Just had a
bad.
cup of coffee, man. You caught me at a good time.
I absolutely love baseball. I think it's the best. Growing up, I wasn't much of a fan. I watched a lot of hockey. I'm a Toronto fan, so the Toronto Maple Leafs continue to lose every year. They haven't won the championship since '67. And a bunch of years ago, I found the connection to baseball and how it made me feel. So when I watched hockey, I would get really tense and just sort of like have way too much invested. And if they lost, even if it was a game in October, I would just get angry. I'm like, no, I need to stop that. And when I watch baseball, it centers me. It's very zen. I know all of the intricacies that are in there and why people do certain things and why the coach is, or the manager is going to send somebody up instead of the other person. And man, I just love baseball. I could talk to somebody about baseball for hours. And when I watch the Blue Jays, who are currently not doing very well, about as good as the Astros are, I don't get upset if they lose. Yeah. I mean, it's a game, so you're gonna have to lose.
Yeah, well, and it's a marathon, not a sprint, just like life. You gotta, keep moving forward. That's all.
It's
Blue
true.
Jays, man, the Blue Jays should be better. They're better. They're way better on paper. I've been thinking that for 2 or 3 years with all those young guys they have, and they took my favorite George Springer up there. So
Yeah, he was a great addition. We now have Justin Turner this year, who's just been turning on the Jets for us compared to everybody else. But who knows? Maybe they'll turn it around. I'll take baseball any day. Um, so we talked about baseball. What position did you play?
I was a pitcher. I became a pitcher. They called it in high school. I played a little bit of third base and first base. I've always been kind of a big target playing first base. Yeah, like I said, I became a pitcher. It was one of those things where you play. I don't know how much you know, Jason, about the Houston baseball world, but in those days, I don't know if this is still true, but in those days it was like touted as, oh, Houston has such strong high school baseball. I know my uncle coached Andy Pettit, who is a Hall of
Mm,
Famer now.
hmm.
And it's that kind of roots all around. Roger Clemens, I think, was, there's all kinds of guys that era that were coming out of Houston. And so it was like, oh yeah, it's such a good place to be. And if you're middling, then you kind of decide pretty early on that you're going to have to hang it up at a point you're not really wanting to. And I remember talking to my high school baseball coach kind of at the end of the season, and I was talking to him about this, and he says, well, there's only a few hundred people who are still playing baseball. Everybody else has to hang it up before they want to, before they're ready to. And it's just, again, back to the character thing. You have to deal with the balancing, trying to be optimistic about everything that you're focusing on, but also you got to be realistic that, hey, this avenue is not going to work. I'm going to try something else. I'm going to do this or that or the other thing.
Yeah, and now people that are like, as you said, will strike out times out of 10 are getting $25 million a year.
I should have hung on. I could have
You
maybe done
should have.
something.
We could have got free tickets. No, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. That would be odd. I'd be honored though. I'd be like, hey, I'm talking to an MLB player.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So
We can dream.
what do you have planned for the future? You and your family going on any trips? You looking forward to any vacations whatsoever?
Yeah, we are. This summer, we are going to go out to Florida. The thing that I'm most excited, we're just going to sit on the beach out there. But the thing I'm most excited about is we're going to do, I think, an extended test drive of a new family car, because there's this new service. I don't know if probably it's not that new. Like I said, I'm not as cool as I used to be, but there's this thing called Turo, where you can pick out any sort of make and model. Usually if you go with like Hertz or Enterprise or whatever, they say, oh yeah, here's what we got on the lot back here. But with Turo, you can pick out the specific kind of car you want. And so we're like debating, okay, which one do we think we might really want to take for 7 days where we rent it and go and see how it feels. So we're still kind of debating. I like the the Ford Bronco. I like my wife really likes the Subaru something Ascent, I think is what it is at that size class or whatever. But we'll see what ends up being available and what we end up going with. But I'm excited for that because it's our first really long road trip with the kids, so we're in for it, I'm sure. But hopefully they'll appreciate the added leg room.
That should be fun. Augustine chimed in, get a Lambo.
Yeah. If I was closing deals like Augustine, I probably would.
Right. We flew out to California 3 years ago, I think it was, to do some video of our on-site teams out there. And we got a car through National. You just walk out and pick out whatever car you want. And there was a Lambo SUV right there. I said, oh, we'll take that one. The guy's like, oh, sure. It's only $2,000 a day. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
sure.
Yeah, we'll move on.
Put it on the tab.
All right. Well, we're coming up to the end of our time here. I really appreciate talking to you. Any words of wisdom you want to part with before we end this? No
Oh, I
pressure.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have any real wisdom. I think the message I think that has accidentally come out is like, be positive. It's the part that we're all in control of is right between our two ears, and we can use that however we want. I think that's that responsibility is sort of forgotten in a lot of cases, I think, or the ability to do that maybe we forget, and it happens to all of us. And I think it's something that that we should really focus on. All of us should really focus on, because who knows how long we have here. Um, you know, it's a matter of making the best out of every day, I think, and that's, I don't know, it's so cheesy, man, but that's really how I feel about it.
It's not cheesy. It's those are valid feelings, and you don't have to defend them. That's not cheesy at all. It's words to live by. 100%. I'm on board, and I think your kids are lucky to have you as dad with that sort of outlook.
Well,
Before we go,
the outlook does change depending on some of their behaviors, but I appreciate you saying so. That's nice.
I'm sure it does. I was a kid, so I know. I thought I knew everything. Meanwhile, my parents would smirk and go, "We've been through that. Don't worry about it, kid."
Yeah.
Before we go, two more comments. Holly left a comment on our Instagram account, says the double J's today. Love to see it. So happy to have Johnny on the team. So
Clever.
And then Sarah said, Team Bronco. Sarah is on Sarah's our fantastic designer on our marketing team, and she lives in the Detroit area. So of course she's Team Ford.
Perfect. I'll bring that extra vote to the debate. I don't know I'm not sure how much weight it's going to carry, but we'll see.
I love the new Broncos. I love the Big Bend one. I think it's fantastic. Someday.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Johnny. Thank you. I really appreciate you joining us, and I will say goodbye to everybody.
Thanks, Jason. It's nice to be here. Appreciate the time.
Good to talk to you.